From Mortal to Divine, a Cultivation Epic, Episode 14. Early in the morning, a black sedan unexpectedly drove into the usually quiet Guanling village. Well, because it was early in the morning and there were not many people on the road, the car kept speeding. After circling around the village a few times, the car stopped in front of a house. A man dressed in a black suit got out of the car. Who is it? So annoying, disturbing people's peaceful dreams so early. Chen Xiaobian, who always considered sleeping in as a hobby, was awakened by the sound of the car at the door. He had no choice but to get up, yawning and complaining. "Dad, what's going on so early?" "Nothing major." Chen Xiaobian opened the door and walked out of the room, seeing that his father, Chen Lagu, had already been up and was sitting at the table in the main room. "Hey there, young man." But at this moment, the voice of a stranger suddenly sounded nearby. "You, what are you doing? You wouldn't have forgotten me, right? I spent that 500 yuan for nothing." Chen Xiaobian then noticed that there was a middle-aged man in his 40s inside the house, although he didn't know when he had arrived. "Dad, isn't he the troublesome Qin Da?" "Young man, don't call me by that nickname." "Okay." Chen Xiaobian suddenly remembered that this was the troublesome Qin Da he had met a few days ago. When they found a woman's body by the river, his father had warned him not to deal with this man. So why was he here at their house? "They have a case, and they want both of us to help." As Chen Lagu spoke, Xiaobian finally understood that a highly unusual case had occurred in the vicinity, likely involving supernatural elements, and they had come to ask them for help. "But I'm getting old, and I don't want to get involved in this." However, judging by what Chen Lagu said, he didn't want to deal with this Qin Da trouble, and he didn't want to get involved in this mess. "Master Dog, you don't have to go, but how about lending me your son?" This young man, upon hearing Chen Lagu's suggestion, Qin Da Trouble immediately placed his hand on Xiaobian's shoulder, implying that it was fine for Xiaobian to go. "Don't give me that. If my dad doesn't go, I won't either. Don't be so quick to reject people from far away. Let Master Dog decide." Xiaobian wasn't stupid. He understood Qin Da Trouble's intentions. He knew that going himself would be better, and even if it didn't work out, it would force his father to get involved. He immediately waved his hand and refused. It's not impossible. After all, he's grown up and should go out and make a name for himself." The ball was back in Chen Lagu's court, but what Xiaobian didn't expect was that his father didn't refuse and even seemed to be open to the idea. "You two have some issues, huh? Will you pay this time?" "Of course, this time. It's a labor fee of 700 yuan. "How about that?" Xiaobian finally realized that his old man had probably set up a plan with Qin Da Trouble, the goal being to let him go on this adventure alone. "I'll also need to call for backup, so 700 won't be enough for a split. It's too little. I need at least 2,000. Xiaobian saw the situation clearly and knew he had to take advantage of this opportunity to get a good deal from Qin Da Trouble, or he wouldn't forgive himself. 2,000 short is no problem. My friend and I each contribute 1,000. Hey, it'll be difficult for me to get reimbursed." In fact, Xiaobian had wanted to test his skills for a while. He had been with his father for over a decade and had never handled such a case on his own. This had always been itching at Xiaobian. "Master Dog, your son is not at all like you. Do you not have any style when it comes to food? My goodness, you're even more money-oriented than I am." With this opportunity in hand, Xiaobian immediately began preparations. "You see, it's this, and it's already taken more than 10 lives." After negotiating with Qin Da Trouble, Xiaobian sat in his car and arrived at the scene of the incident, a small house at the foot of a mountain more than 20 miles away from Guanling village. Many people have died before, ever since this house was built by the forest. 4 couples have died in succession. Do you think it's not ominous? With Kin de Trouble's introduction, Xiaobian also understood the seriousness of the situation. These more than 10 lives lost were indeed shocking. In front of them was a large tree that required 2 or 3 people to encircle. Hanging from the tree were the bodies of a young man and woman. They didn't look very old but had been dead for a long time. This was Xiaobian's first time seeing hanging bodies. Both of them had bluish faces, bulging eyes, and looked extremely horrifying. My goodness, it's so powerful. I'm afraid I can't. But wait, don't get discouraged. Here's an upfront payment of 1,000 yuan. Keep it with you. Xiaobian was taken aback by the situation, but before he could say anything, Kin de Trouble immediately stuffed 1,000 yuan into Xiaobian's pocket. All right, stop looking and quickly put them down and send them away. Without waiting for Xiaobian to say anything, Kin de Trouble snapped his fingers and gestured to the people under the tree. Stop acting like that, and quickly collect the bodies. Several Joint Defense Team members who were checking the bodies under the tree immediately began their work at his command. A group of people worked to collect the 2 bodies, and Xiaobian took the opportunity to carefully observe the tree and the small house. Xiaobian made a judgment in his mind, but without his father around, he didn't feel 100% confident. However, the task had already been taken on, so he had to proceed. That evening, Xiaobian made all the preparations and returned to the same place. Is it true? With this trip, each of us can earn 200. That's right, I always think of you for everything. 200, huh? But this time, Xiaobian brought his childhood friend, Lu Degang, along to act as labor. This beats going out to work and earn a bit of grain. That's right. After all, you're my elder cousin. How could I lose to you? There's nothing else to do, as long as you have courage and aren't afraid. I don't know how to catch ghosts, but it's up to you. But if there's a place for me, you should tell me. As they walked and talked, they eventually came to the topic of ghost catching. Xiaobian repeatedly emphasized that if Lu Degang saw a ghost, he mustn't wet his pants. Of course, I'm not afraid. Ha! What's wrong with you? Don't speak. Lu Degang usually had a lot of courage and appeared fearless, but at that moment, he suddenly noticed a change in Xiaobian's expression. What? Oh, okay. Give me the long stick from your bag. Quick, I see it up ahead. Xiaobian grabbed Lu Degang and crouched down in the roadside bushes, carefully peering into the field. Lu Degang also became a bit nervous seeing the situation. He handed a long wooden stick to Xiaobian, who then inserted a long needle with a tassel into the trumpet end of what appeared to be a blowgun. Can this be used to deal with ghosts? Lu Degang watched Xiaobian's sequence of actions in confusion, but Xiaobian paid him no attention. He sealed the blowgun with his mouth and aimed it toward the field. Xiaobian's cheek puffed up, and a steel needle shot out like lightning. Lu Degang followed the direction of the blowgun and looked into the field, where a wild chicken suddenly jumped up, struck by the needle. Lu Degang, hurry and pick it up. We'll have some wild game tonight. Xiaobian was delighted with his shot and instructed Lu Degang to retrieve the chicken. It was only then that Lu Degang realized that Xiaobian, who had made him so nervous, was shooting a wild chicken. He couldn't help but feel exasperated. Look at you, not at all like Chenbo's son. We're just catching a ghost. Why so nervous? Lu Degang had plenty to complain about, but he couldn't say it to Xiaobian. They had grown up together, and he knew Xiaobian's temperament. The 2 of them arrived at the small house under the tree and collected some firewood. They roasted the wild chicken and began to eat. This is not nearly enough to eat. You've had your share. All the good meat went to you. Xiaobian was still eager for more wild game, but Lu Degang, his face uninterested, gnawed on a chicken neck. All right, we're done eating. It's time for us to get to work. Catching a ghost is not a simple matter. What are your orders? With the wild chicken finished, Xiaobian's face turned serious again as he broached the subject of catching a ghost. From here on, we can't afford to make any mistakes at every step we take. All right, don't worry. Seeing Xiaobian's seriousness, Lu Degang couldn't help but get nervous. So for now, let's rest up and sleep. What sleep? But who would have thought that he would suddenly collapse onto the heated brick bed and prepare to take a nap? Don't worry, ghosts won't come out before midnight. You rascal. Lu Degang only realized that he had been fooled by the annoying Xiaobian. Since it's still a long time until midnight, the two of them settled down and slept peacefully. It was approaching midnight when Chen Xiaobian suddenly opened his eyes. He heard footsteps behind him and knew that what he had been waiting for had finally arrived. Xiaobian turned over cautiously and saw a figure coming out of the house. A sly smile curled on his lips as he realized his plan had succeeded. The person was none other than Lu Degang. At this moment, he appeared to be unconscious, moving mechanically as if controlled by some force. In truth, this was all part of Xiaobian's plan. After Lu Degang had fallen asleep, Xiaobian extinguished the 3 soul lamps on his body to make it easier for his spirit to possess him. However, if Lu Degang were to discover that he had been used as bait, his feelings would be quite different. Seeing Lu Degang walking out like a puppet, Xiaobian silently followed him. After exiting the house, Lu Degang took down a hemp rope hanging on the wall, a rope that Xiaobian had intentionally left there. With Xiaobian's deliberate arrangement, Lu Degang successfully brought the rope to the large tree in front of the house. Xiaobian was watching him closely from not too far away. Lu Degang found a wooden stump, stood on it, and hung the rope on a tree branch. Then he put his head through it. With a push of his feet, Lu Degang was suspended by the rope, and it wouldn't be long before his life might be in danger. Xiaobian saw that the time was right. He sprinted towards the tree. While running, Xiaobian took out a coffin nail rope and threw it toward the tree. The coffin nail rope securely wrapped around the tree, and Xiaobian looped it around his wrist, climbing up the rope. When he reached a position near where Lu Degang was hanging, Xiaobian didn't immediately rescue him. Instead, he formed a loop with the rope in his hand. Around the level of Lu Degang's head, Xiaobian also placed his head inside the loop. Through the loop, Xiaobian looked in the direction of the small house. This look led to a discovery. There were 2 dark and shadowy figures standing at the doorway of the small house. Chen Xiaobian had already realized that the problem was not in the tree, but in the location of the small house. This was the only way to find the true culprits. At the doorway were a man and a woman, both dressed in clothing from the Republican era, covered in blood from head to toe. Both ghostly figures had eerie smiles on their faces. Xiaobian identified the location of the culprits and knew that if he didn't act quickly, Lu Degang might not withstand the spiritual assault. With a swift motion, Xiaobian cut the rope around Degang's neck. Lu Degang fell to the ground, and Xiaobian jumped down after him. After the fall, Degang caught his breath and regained his consciousness. At this moment, Xiaobian didn't have time to tend to Lu Degang. He threw an object towards the direction of the small house, and in one smooth motion, took out the blowgun hidden behind him and loaded it with a steel needle. What happened earlier? Lu Degang had just regained his senses, but Xiaobian had already aimed the blowgun toward the small house and blew out the steel needle. The first thing Xiaobian threw was a small cloth bag, which flew to the front of the small house's entrance. The second thing he shot was a steel needle. Upon impact, it released a cloud of white powder. As the powder fell like a blanket, the once invisible ghostly figures were revealed within the white powder's shroud. Don't just stand there. Chase after them, or you won't see them. "Oh, okay." Xiaobian shouted at Dagang, who was still dazed. The two of them hurriedly rushed towards the remaining traces. "Where are they?" "I've spotted them." "Let's go." The two of them reached the white powder. Indeed, they found something. Two white lines formed by the white powder entered the small house and disappeared near the west wall's base. "Watch closely. I'll go find something. Right in these two places." At this moment, only two white spots remained. Xiaobian instructed Dagang to keep an eye on them while he prepared something else. Chen Xiaobian stuck a sharp knife into the ground near one of the white spots. He took an old pair of scissors from inside the house and plunged it into the other white spot. "Little Bian, what are you doing?" This way, they won't be able to escape." Xiaobian analyzed that the two spirits were likely beneath these white spots, so he had armed himself with tools to pin them down and prevent them from running. Xiaobian poured chicken blood, saved from the earlier wild chicken, onto the knife and scissors. This would weaken the abilities of the two spirits. "What do we do next?" "Haha. Now we'll find out who they really are." Seeing Xiaobian's actions, which seemed unreliable at first, Lu Dagang couldn't help but reconsider this seemingly eccentric fellow. "Follow me, and you'll learn how to exorcise demons and subdue monsters, just like Chen Chanchi. You've been pretending all night. You're really something." But as soon as this thought crossed his mind, Xiaobian struck a pose with an air of superiority. Dagang's newfound respect was quickly dampened. "What did you just say?" "Nothing. Nothing. I was just praising you." In the next installment, we will continue to see how Chen Xiaobian catches the ghost.